Yo, it's Lavistro, your favorite dragon here. And they're back. Well, by the time this video comes out, a lot of people will have already covered this topic. And shout out to Gothic Therapy for bringing this up there in the news. I want to talk about it right now. So obviously, Sweet Baby Inc. is returned, and one of their team members claims cozy games like farming sims promote colonialism and must be changed. At the 2025 Game Devs of Color Expo, Sweet Baby Inc. team Tristan J. Tarwater gave a talk about decolonizing cozy games, but unfolded was startling representation of where even farming families and Four Seasons themselves were framed as symptoms of colonialism. Yes, so for those who don't know, I don't know if this article covers it, but for those who don't know, recently they had a Game Devs of Color Expo, which to me is a segregation expo for people who are not white in game development. It's to me it's like one of the most racist things you can say or do, right? Like, we're gonna segregate everybody that's not a certain race or color into this one expo. That's literally Jim Crow days, and I'm not just saying that out of pulling that shit out of my ass. I mean, that's literally what it looks like to me. So we're gonna recognize people based on the color of their skin rather than the merits of their work in game design. Sure. Okay. Anyway, continuing on, this was uncovered by Master of TDS and writing Raven of Gothic Therapy. And if you haven't followed them, I would highly recommend them. They have been uncovering a lot of this stuff. Master of TDS does a lot of great work, and they are a charming couple. So definitely follow them and watch their content. One of the opening slides attempted to redefine the genre's foundations, decolonization, often framed as an undoing, colonial influence and structures. It is also a creative process of imagining what cultures would look like if not disrupted by the exploitation of colonialism. I'm not even going to say that. I don't even want to bother. The practice of rejecting Eurocentric ways of knowing and being, going by Annibale Quija, no, I don't care. This concept acknowledges how different concepts of the cosmos influence knowledge acquisition, information storage, and transfer any ideas of the self. In other words, designers weren't talking about just tweaking mechanics, they were questioning the very cultural foundation that cozy games typically draw from. One side, bluntly titled Colonialism in Cozy Games Where, spells out what Tarwater sees as problems in the genre. So many white people. Let's rephrase that. I'm not going to say that because of YouTube terms of service, but and I don't know if I can say it. But let's what if she said a different color in there instead of white? That's like it's funny, it's the top of the list. So many white people, so many people of a certain color. That's really telling about how racist they are. All right. The outside individual who saves the day. Oh, so that would mean Conan Exiles, or even the Conan series. A lot of video games where there's an outside individual, like for example, Skyrim is inherently racist. It has colonialism in it. Not just cozy games. The land is there for the taking. No Man's Sky, that would also be a racist game, apparently, according to that. It has colonialism. That's basically farming right there, and farming industry. That's the product they sell. The people eat more corn and wheat. And corn and wheat is used to make bread. It's used in so many ingredients that, yeah, it's a star crop. It's, in fact, in America, right, corn is used. You go to most farmland states, and you'll see a lot of corn. Nuclear family, 2-gen family. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, apparently nuclear family having. I bet you this lady here doesn't have any kids. I bet you at least none of her own. And if she does, it's probably with multiple dads. I'm just going to say that. I'm not trying to do an ad hominem here, but no, the nuclear family is ideal. Studies have been shown that nuclear family, the mother-father approach, does more for children's development than a single-parent family or even a the same gender family. There's studies showing that. Decades even before the legalization of gay marriage. Just pointing that out there. You could go look that up if you really want to look it up. Monochronic structures, 4 seasons, Gregorian calendar. So for people who don't know, the Gregorian calendar is what we use today. And the Gregorian calendar was invented by Pope Gregory, right? And he got that from Copernicus and Galileo, also in the Catholic Church. And I guess that's literally what she's going here. She's going Christianity, Catholicism. I'm sorry, but just because someone has a religious belief doesn't mean that it's racist. Science is science. And the Gregorian calendar is the most accurate calendar to date. That's why even Saudi Arabia back in 2012, was it Saudi Arabia? One of the countries in the Middle East, in 2012, adopted the Gregorian calendar. A lot of countries are adopting it because of its accuracy, and have been adapting it for over 200 years. Oh, or was it 200? Since the 1600s, I can't remember which. But then they also say here 4 seasons. So the weather is... I'm pretty sure every conservative, every redneck, every racist has a weather dominator in their backyard. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you're a member of Cobra too. Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and put that out there. Sure. Conveniently ancient civilizations. Well, yes, that's always been the thing with ancient civilizations. Secret knowledge, because when Rome fell, Rome was an advanced civilization. It created a state of anarchy, and when the Islamic Caliphate came about, they found the texts of Greek and Rome and were using them. That during the Crusade era, the Crusaders, when they found these texts, they brought them back, and that's what founded churches. That's like the Catholic Church, founded colleges in Europe, leading to the age of the Renaissance. So, yeah, if you find ancient technology, if you find ancient knowledge that betters your life, would you be a fool not to use it because it's their knowledge? Or would you use it to better your life? But yeah, that's totally racism. That's totally colonialism. Spirituality is silly. Okay, yeah, there you go. Spirituality is silly. So if you're a horrible human being for wanting to better yourself. You're a horrible human being for seeking a power greater than yourself. So that also means that Alcoholics Anonymous is straight up racism and colonization. Because in their creed, right, their credos, right, one of the requirements to battle your addiction to alcohol is you have to find a power greater than yourself. For many people, that's religion, but for some atheists that are in there, it's another sponsor or something else that they find that is outside of themselves to help transform themselves away from an addict. But yeah, but trying to better yourself, that's totally evil and colonialism. Straight up racism. I mean, you just literally contradict yourself in your last part with your first part. So many white people. You're being racist against white people. Like, this should be tossed out. This people should be laughing at this and tossing it out the expo, but they don't. That's right. Even farming staples like corn and wheat, or the concept of a 2-parent household where parents are a man and woman, were presented as vestiges of colonial influence, and thus deemed a problematic event of Cozy Games by Sweet Baby Inc. The push to decolonize. Another side asks, how can we decolonize Cozy Games? We can start by the process of decolonizing and practicing decolony by questioning ourselves and those we trust around us. For an example, what does safety mean for the audience we are trying to reach? What does safety have to do anything about it? What does safety have to do? What mechanics, rewards, and cultural touchstones and character archetypes will we implement that we resonate with them? What is the relationship of the player character to the NPC community? And you remember how I mentioned a lot, if you watch my videos or live streams, I always talk about the relationship with the player character. It's like the player character psychology. That's what they're talking about. How can they make the player care about this through their game? That's what they're talking about. And how can we handle this mechanically and narratively? How many generations of people are present at any time? And how is time measured, and how does this play out mechanically and narratively? Yes, even time itself, how a game measures seasons or years, was flagged as a potential area of colonial baggage. as if the Gregorian calendar was not evident enough, because Gregorian calendar is literally a measurement of time. Sure, there are seasons and everything else, but that's also still in a concept of time. As you progress throughout the year, how many seconds, how many, because the Gregorian calendar is calculated for how many seconds, how many days, how many weeks, how many months, and naturally realize that the calendar will get out of line, just like the Roman calendar, every 4 years. So that's why we have a leap year. Because with every 4 years, we have about 24 hours or 1 day, right, that is out of alignment with the calendar. So that leap year reverts everyone back to on track. That's why that leap year exists. Continuing on, the presentation closed with a slide showing games to check out among titles listed on the Fields of Mysteria and Salt Sea Chronicles, but also Tales of the Shire, a game Sweet Baby Inc. directly worked on. And that's one thing I want to point out here. I also will point out my own videos in podcasts or even in videos like these because I worked on them and I want you to know more. But there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is that their games didn't do well, right? Like Tales of the Shire had some issues. It's also a cozy game, but it was a cozy game they built that failed ultimately. It's not that they put it in there and say, "Oh, this is a great game." No, they put it in there to try to shield themselves and hopefully boost up the numbers. Like, this is a great game. No, if you're gonna say, if you're gonna promote work that succeeded, right? Say these are examples of games out there that don't have it and are successful. Tales of the Shire is hardly successful. I don't know about these other ones. By holding their own contracted project as a model of decolonized cozy games, SBI's talk doubled as a commercial, positioning themselves as arbiters of what counts as acceptable design moving forward. The session uncovered by Master T.S. writing Raving of Gothic Therapy shows exactly how Sweet Baby Inc. is training the industry. So they're telling developers that cozy games filled the farming, families, and seasonal cycles are racist colonial relics and must be reworked. And that's funny. I want to point this out there. Not trying to touch the topic of religion too much. I just want to point this out that in Frederick Nietzsche's Twilight of the Idols, he states he's the origin of the statement, "God is dead." And what he means is that our belief in God is dead, that we've moved on from that. That is an ancient, archaic relic. 100 years later, or over 100 years later, I might add, people still believe in the concept of an all-being entity controlling everything and being there, all that stuff, right? So that concept, after 100 years, still is around. So clearly the concept of God is not dead. So clearly 100 years later, this concept of what they're accusing of colonialism is not going to die out. They're just trying to reinvent the wheel. And I'm going to give my thoughts here at the end of the article. So they're telling the developers culture's work. One slide literally reduced the issue to so many white people. Decolonizing cozy game. So what's a cozy game about doing chores when you're at the center of the universe? Tristan J. Tarwater will delve into cozy games and how they uphold values of colonialism and their mechanics and narrative. More than just being about vibes, cozy games project an idea of what is safe or rewarding for players to often promote values of capitalism. So, yeah, obviously capitalism is evil, but here's the thing. Every culture, even Soviets, believe it or not, has some degree of capitalism to a certain extent because it's an economic model. By rewarding individualism and consumption. So there you go, Conan. The concept of Conan. This is why they say Conan was too toxic to make a video series on. Conan itself is literally about individualism and self-reliance as opposed to community, and literally called civilizations corrupt. That corruption literally came from civilization. So that right there would show a very racist and even though it's about individualism, colonialism idea, because he's an outside source. Another game, like I said, No Man's Sky would be another example. Skyrim, The Witcher, you name it. What makes them satisfying for many can also make things uncomfortable for marginalized people. Then don't play them. I don't know what to tell you. By exploring and questioning the definitions of values of cozy games and even colonialism, we can make cozy games even cozier. It's less about players' escapism and more about ideological policing. And the recommended fix just so happens to run straight through the games that Sweet Baby Inc. itself has a hand in shaping. This recommendation comes at a time when Sweet Baby Inc. games like South Midnight are tanking with gamers. If this is the vision Sweet Baby Inc. is pushing, the future of cozy games may look far less cozy and far more like an exercise in box checking. And we've seen that before with Sweet Baby Inc. games. But here's the thing I want to point out is that in the game industry, people like Sweet Baby Inc. before these consultancy firms came out, we called these people idea guys, and they were a dime a dozen, right? People find out you to give you some context. When people find out you're a game designer, like, oh, I have an idea for a game. Okay, do you have a game design document? You have a GED? No. You have a high concept? No. So they would tell you what you should put in your game, but they had nothing for us to work with, and we just shrugged them off and ignored them. Now that's different from a player who plays their games and loves their games. Say, hey, it'd be cool if you could add this feature in there. Eventually, like that was something I would like to see, maybe in a sequel. Because then it's like, okay, we have people are saying they want this in our games. They play our games, and we could maybe see if it was in the scope of the next game or sequel. That's totally different than I have an idea for a game, you should make it. They were a dime a dozen. But what happened was in 2014, during the era of Gamergate, a lot of these people got in the game industry. They weren't successful. They sucked at their job, whatever the case may be. You can make up any belief you want. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying this is what I've noticed when I was a freelancer in the industry, is that they suck at these games, and they use to believe all victims mentality, right? So they would say stuff like harassment and assault, blah, 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 and get people canceled so they can take those positions. A good example is we got Ubisoft, but then let's point out that nobody that's a queermancer that was at BioWare that got fired comes from The Sims. I'm not saying they did anything. I'm saying the people were removed from their positions. They got pushed up and upheld as like, hey, we're not racist, we're not sexist. We don't care if they're queer or not. We're gonna let them lead this game. And they lead that game with no skill, no talent, no merit other than their boxes that they checked, and totally destroy a franchise and tank a game. All right. And if they can't go that way, like Sweet Baby Inc., for example, they make a consultancy firm because they can't get the game developers to play ball with them. So they pull a collective shout. They'll make their own. They make their own organization. They go out. They go to the manager like a Karen and say, hey, you need to get this guy canceled because he's racist, sexist, whatever. Or they say, hey, your games are racist, sexist, and the modern day gamer does not believe in this stuff. But we're a consultancy firm. You should do this, this, and this. You should have to do this for your game. You should do that for your game. They do their idea guys, where they don't have to do anything that's in the game, but they can narrate how the game should go and dictate to the game developers and the company what would sell their games. And maybe some of these developers do agree with this, especially nowadays. But when you have people say, oh, a lot of the old developers are not in there. Well, in Ubisoft, for example, the CCO was one of the original 8 people for Ubisoft. Michael Excel, the creator of Rayman, was in there until he left shortly around 2020 as well. A lot of these people were still in the gaming industry, and some are still in there today. Probably not doing the nitty gritty, but overseeing the managing and overseeing things as they move up in the company. But the ones who had the skill and the passion, they were canceled out. A lot of them were canceled out, right? And were forced to leave the company. Some went to make it their own studios and indie games. Others disappeared into the woodworks. I know of one who's been making games since I was a kid, and I know his name, and a lot of people that run in my circles probably know who I'm talking about. but he's been in game design and still is in game design. And since he's a high-profile character, I won't mention his name. But yeah, there's a lot of people. What my point is that there's a lot of people out there, right, who see this and they're like, I've had enough. And then you have these idea guys coming in and trying to change things, reinvent the wheel, and they have no merits to prove that what they're saying is right. It's going to be a great business. Gamers will attracted to it, and instead tank the industry. And the industry's going to listen to them because they want that money. They want to not be looking like the bad guy, even though a lot corpo's going to corpo. But what do you think, viewer? Put your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, happy gaming.
Worlds clash in endless collision. Gaming news with a fierce precision. With a spark so wild it breaks the norm. In the tempest eye, a cyberstorm. Reclaim gaming and dragon cast. Fire breathing wide, screaming loud. Lavistro's here to shake the crowd.